I'm muting all my notifications right now. Excuse me one moment. What I mean to say is hello and welcome to the Mason and Remy No Frequency podcast. How are you, Remy?
I'm good. I'm doing well. It is finally cold as balls.
It really is. I don't know what specific spheres you're referencing, but it is cold now. It has snowed in my neighborhood. Christmas decorations are in full effect. Christmas tree is up. We are going to do some quick updates. We have a lot of stuff we want to talk about. Apparently, aliens are real. I don't know if we'll have time to talk about it in this episode because we have been talking about creativity and wanting to get into that topic a lot. I'm going to be honest with you, Remy. I don't know how many people are actually going, can't wait to hear Mason and Remy talk about creativity, or if it's us really wanting to talk about stuff that we are interested in, which is the purpose here. And I go, damn, those alien things are really interesting. But we got to talk about this, and we'll get through it. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but if we can, I didn't know UAPs were such a regular thing. We'll get into it coming up in a little bit. First, updates. Remy, how are you? I know you said it's cold now. It's a little warmer where you are than where I am, but we definitely got snow in this last week. And of course, this is our Thanksgiving episode that'll come out like the day before everybody's gobbling it down. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But how's your last week been since we chatted?
I was in Denver, Colorado at the Reef Builders studio.
All right, bro.
Which is where all of our company tanks, aquariums, and everything are. So it's basically a large room. It used to be a mechanic's garage that was like overdone, and now there's tons and tons of like saltwater tanks. So many
it's
different
the stuff behind you, right? Like those things.
Yeah.
For those who are not up to speed, Remy is working for like a company that does this kind of stuff, creates some fun YouTube content.
We basically cover the entire saltwater hobby. So fish, coral, inverts, plants, animals, all of that kind of stuff. So
home base is Colorado, where you went to last week, you're saying?
Yes. So I have seen snow, but I have not seen snow in St. Louis.
Okay.
I didn't see snow in Denver where I was, but if you look into the mountains, which are nearby, there's snow in the mountains. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, I was there for a couple days. Traveling is never fun. On the way back, I will say it's always fun because I fly Southwest all the time. It's usually the main airline that I go with, and I know that they're talking about doing away with this whole first come first serve seat thing.
Heard about that.
And getting into line for your number or whatever, and just giving you a seat while you check in, which I think is far less stressful. I forgot to check into my flight on the way back, so I'm immediately thinking, crap, I'm gonna get in group C. I'm gonna be the last person on. I'm to shove myself in between, two huge dudes, and here's me the entire way home.
Yeah,
I have to check my carry-on and all the stuff. But I checked in and I was B23, and I was like, oh my gosh, there must be 0 people on this flight. And there were 0 people on the flight. It was, I think there were 70 people total on the flight. I got an emergency exit row, sat down, looked at the safety manual that they have for the plane. Boeing 737 MAX 8. I believe that was the same model of airplane where the emergency exit door flew off mid-flight.
No, you mean the one you were just now sitting next to?
Exactly.
Because of the seat you chose. Okay. So like, man, what a roller coaster already. I'm like, oh man, late check-in. Oh, good. Oh man. Oh God. Oh boy. Like this is a ride already.
It all turned out great on the flight. It was a little choppy on the way home, but then St. Louis, did what St. Louis does and ruined the entire experience by making me wait for my bag and everybody's bag from Denver for about 35 minutes while they figured out how to load up the carts or load up onto the carousel or whatever. So,
man,
you never know what you're going to get when you travel. You really don't. And
the only thing you can expect is the unexpected and your plans to be broken. I know it's kind of like what I go into it with now. Like I'm not a big traveler. You know that. Like you've seen me not only fly, not that I don't like flying. It's just the whole process is so unnerving and takes you so much out of a place of comfort and enjoyment. We were just chatting with someone before we started. they've got kids. They took them on vacation. And they were like, we're planning a 10-day vacation with 2 kids, which is not a vacation. I'm like, you are correct. It is not. And not even if I am alone, is it still a vacation until my feet are in the sand because, and then it's only a vacation for 2-3 days till I get to go through the most stressful part of my life again.
Yeah.
It's so wild how hard it is to get around. And that is the real reason I like to drive everywhere, because I can go at my pace, but
Yeah.
not if you're, it's in other people's hands and you're flying, and there's a lot of regulations and a lot of that kind of stuff. So
No delays, man. You can just go. And there's so many times where I've thought about that at the airport, like, man, this is only like a 4-hour, 5-hour drive,
yeah.
and I could just leave right now. Because if you think about it, you got to get to the airport an hour and a half to 2 hours before your flight. Then
Yep.
there's a whole getting on the flight. Maybe it's late, maybe it's not. Then there's the flight. Then you got to get back to the other air. But then by the time you're done, it's like a 6-hour thing.
Yep. I could have driven there and back. I remember many times when the one that points out in my head is the flight to Nashville from Chicago. When I was going to film Nashville, they were like, you'll go not to Nashville, not Chicago to Nashville. You'll go Chicago to Atlanta to Nashville,
Yep.
which would be a layover. So again, you're talking your hour and a half before, your 2-3 hours in the air, then your hour and a half layover. Now I'm like 7-8 hours to travel a 4 or 5 hour drive. I'm getting in the car and I drove the whole way. I went to the bathroom anytime. Nobody told me you can't go to the bathroom right now. I didn't have to eat some garbage bag of snacks that I probably got paid $40 for. The Wi-Fi at the time, man, I had the Chevy Tahoe and it had the Wi-Fi in it. You know what I'm saying? Oh
Yeah.
boy, it was a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I will always opt to drive, if possible. Like my company is currently in California, and I have thought out and mapped out how could that drive? Like
That'd
that's
be
a
a
drive.
fun drive. You wouldn't want to do
I
that all
think
the
that too.
time, but
No, I
there's
think
so
that
much
too.
to see, on the way to California. You just
Mhm.
drive Route 66,
It's right by I literally live by Road 66 right now, and I would do that. I've talked about that. I've had friends who have made that drive. You know what I mean? It's definitely something I'd be up for. But if the company's going to pay for a flight, then all right, we're packing this bag. I was walking all around LA, like I don't have anything. I'm just walking around LA, and it was kind of nice. And going, you know what? I got 3 hours before I get on a flight. No plans. Going to do that. Thankfully, that was nice. That was a nice trip too. Quick, easy flight. Uh, Recommend traveling at your comfort and leisure. But I know you were kind of working, but still nice to see some mountains. I'm from the
Yeah.
flatlands, so I don't get to see any.
Yeah,
Any of
I
that.
tell everybody whenever I'm there, I'm like, this feels like Mars to me because it's just so much more dynamic. There's and one of the guys was like, yeah, how do you tell where you're going in the Midwest? Like we always just say, the mountains are west right now. So so you use that as your
I never
compass
thought about
essentially.
that.
Yeah. So you just use the mountain range as your compass, but we don't have any of that. That's why
No.
maybe that's why I'm not good. Like if you tell me to go north, I'd have to figure out where I'm at. You know
If
what I mean? Like I couldn't
if
use a
I'm near
landmark.
Chicago, you might be able to go like,
Use the
okay,
city as a reference. Yeah.
Willis Tower is right there or
Right, yeah.
whatever it's called this week. But okay, this is where I am, at least in what retrospect to the city, or that's interesting. And we never thought about that because we're from here, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have that. Probably and I'm in Normal, Illinois, which is Remy's hometown. I feel like for you, if you were lost in this town, you'd look up and go, "Can I see the ISU? What is it, Watterson Towers or
Watterson
whatever?" It's
Towers,
like
yeah.
the only thing, or State Farm headquarters is the only thing that rises up above 3 floors in this town. And that's how you can tell how far away you are from things. But that's super interesting, man. I never thought about that. It's like the mountains are a landmark.
Yeah. We
I
did.
love
I want to tell a quick story before
Please.
we move on. We went so on this little trip that I took. We had a side track where we had to go pick up some things at Harbor Freight. If you don't know Harbor Freight, it's like Ace Hardware. I don't know. It's cheap tools essentially.
I was gonna say, but cheaper? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's super cheap. So we went to go there to get some gloves, or I don't know what we were getting. But on the way there, we saw a sign for the world's largest root beer bar. And the guy I'm with is, 20 years younger than me and is like, oh my gosh. And he's got a corn allergy. So a lot of the sodas and things have corn syrup in them, so you can't have them. But if it has cane sugar in it, he's good. So a lot of the like native root, organic root beers, right, have cane
Okay.
sugar in them. And he loves root beer. He was like, we got to go to this place. We have to go. I was like, okay, fine. So we went inside this antique mall, there is basically 6 to 7 coolers of every root beer brand known to mankind.
Wow.
And the kid that was running the store was probably like 25, super enthusiastic. We go in, he's like, "Hey guys, welcome in. If you need to know anything about the root beer selection or whatever, just let me know, right?" And we're like, "Okay, we're good, yeah." And we're standing there in front of all of these, like, Dad's root beer, A&W
Mhm.
root beer. We've had all these before, right? But then you get into some weird brand names. It's very IPA, weird names kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And so we look over at him, and the guy I'm with says that they connected eyes, and the kid behind the desk was like, "This is the moment I've been waiting for all of my life. I just want to tell people about root beer." So he comes over and helps us, and he's describing these root beers like they're wine. Like, they
Yeah,
have
he's a
notes of this
sommelier of root beer.
and flavors of that, and he's telling us the difference between root beer and, like, what's it, sarsaparilla and all of
Mhm,
this stuff,
mhm.
and he's like, "But my favorite root beer has to be this brand, and this brand happens to be named Balls, BAWLS,
Okay,
Balls."
okay.
And so it turned into, and the kid didn't, I don't even know if he knows this SNL skit, but it turned into the sweaty balls thing where he's just like actually talking to us this, about
Eh,
having like balls on his tongue and all of
correct
this
me
stuff.
correct me if I'm wrong, but having a taste for balls,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
like
the
going
taste of
on.
balls was very good to him, and he liked it. It was his number one choice was balls.
This guy
And
is just a comedian. He's like a stand-up amateur comedian, and he's like, "Oh, I get to practice my bit again. All right, so balls." And he
yeah,
just like goes into it, right? He's so
but I'll
happy.
tell you, I think he was serious about it. Like, at least
It's
at
not a
least at the
shtick.
end of it, maybe he got us with his little comedy shtick. But I felt like he was genuine. So we ended up we got a root beer punch card. We'll be back, I think, but I have a newfound love for root beer.
I'm looking up balls root beer right now,
Yeah,
BAWS, and it definitely looks like it's reaching. It's leaning into the joke,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That makes sense.
It gets ribbed
If
for her
if
pleasure.
I got it, if if it is actually, I was just looking at it. It's studded. It's got the.
Yeah.
You're right, actually. Now that
Yeah, it's the one. It's the one that I guess it was the only one with Guarina or
Right, yeah,
Captain.
go on. Yeah, I was just reading that. Yeah, and we'll put something in here so you can see what we're talking about when we say it looks like the outside of the bottle has pleasure knobs that
Yeah,
you would see in a bathroom condom machine.
yeah,
But anyway, that's awesome. I'm glad you had fun. I'm glad the root beer connoisseurs have a place to go. I wouldn't doubt if the world's largest root beer collection is sponsored by Balls, powered by Balls, or somehow funded by
yeah.
Balls.
There's another brand called Frosty. It's you've probably seen the logo. It's looks like a Santa Claus on the front, and he's got this like white beard.
Okay.
Frosty root beer. It's really good. I think it's a well-known root beer.
Is that your
Um,
pick?
but he was like, the kid was like, "Hang on, since you guys are stocking up, I'm gonna get something special." And he leaves.
He goes
He
into the
leaves for like 5 to 10 minutes. He's like, and he brought back one bottle, and it was Frosty, but it was the vanilla Frosty. And he's like, "I want you guys to try this. And when you come back, just let me know how much you like it." I was like, wow, this guy.
he is loving it.
So I do have a recommendation. If you're ever in Littleton, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver, make sure to hit up the world's largest root beer bar. Not sponsored. That's all I have.
Ask about the balls.
Ask about the balls. Yeah, you'll impress him if you know about the balls already.
I heard I should ask you about your balls. Root beer.
Oh,
Yes, yes. So funny.
how are things in Mason land?
Good, good. All is well here. Plugging along as the end of the year is coming up. You know, at work we're focused on what's going on in December and our first quarter. So I've been like heads down on doing a lot of that stuff. But looking forward to Thanksgiving, which is really as you're watching this or perhaps catching this episode right now. This episode will release the day before Thanksgiving, so I want to make a point to say thank you for everybody who is checked out what we're doing here, and we'll get to maybe a little bit more of that before the end of the episode. Not a lot to catch up on here, other than we're coming to the end of the year. What are we eating for Thanksgiving? What are we doing for Christmas? I would push everybody to utilize the Amazon wish list feature. Really easy for you and your friends or family to just go, hey, okay, I don't have to ask. It's all right here. Perfect.
Mhm.
And then we all get what we want for the holidays. Um, or I mean, you can be creative and try and swing in the dark. That's fine too. But no, not a lot happening for us right now as we plan for Thanksgiving. A couple of Alicia's friends are actually going to come over as well for Thanksgiving. I'll go the next day, take everything up to mom and dad, and spend some time with them. Think then we'll put up the Christmas tree at mom and dad's house, and then in a month we'll make that trip again. That's that's kind of what's going on. Mom and dad are getting up there. They're getting into their mid 70s now. Mom's getting a little harder to move around, that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to take as much time as I can, knowing that I'm not going to miss out on a show that's got my name on it to go see them. Like that was such a
Yeah.
hard thing to do. We've talked about that before in the past and how anytime you took time off was just an opportunity for someone else to come in and take your job. So it was really hard to do, but thankfully working for good companies now that respect us as humans. And happy to say that. Let's dive into this creativity topic because I know it's something we and really me I've been pushing for this topic for a while. I know, Remy, creativity is important to you. It's very important to me, and it's important to who we are and what we do. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have it. I think everybody has a bit of it in their own way, whether that's looking at something and your mind goes somewhere, or designing something, or putting a product together. Maybe you've had the wicked idea of, man, how come we can't figure out how to yeah, all it takes is so much time and effort, and it can be a reality, but you have to have that creativity to do that first, or the money to back somebody with the creativity to do that. Because
Mhm.
those are kind of some of the factors. And for you and I think we both are creative people. When we started doing what we were doing, we just wanted an outlet. When we made that Shampoo video, we had no purpose for it, did we? Other than this will be funny.
Yeah, it was just, out of parody.
Mm-hmm.
I think you take inspiration from Saturday Night Live, comedians, that kind of thing. You see something that needs to be maybe not made fun of is the right word, but needs to be addressed. Like, we're not all crazy for thinking this Vince from Sham Wow guy is just seems like he's on cocaine right now, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. And that this whole thing is ridiculous. That he's up like epic salesman guy with a, hey guys, hey yo, you're at my thing. Hey, is this a swap meet? Are you at a store? I don't even know, but hey, buy the thing, and then I'll
Yeah.
never see you again, and you won't get your money back. You know what I mean? It's like a whole shtick when you see those guys that are out there doing that. The whether you're flex sealing or sham wowing. I think we saw that it was funny. And yeah, I think I had aspirations at one point to be an SNL or something. Like I didn't know what it was. I think if I looked back at it, I would tell young Mason to get into theater more and more writing. Um, but that's the official way to go about it. And that's not fun,
Mhm.
right? Let's find our own way. So what I did was starting to get like, I got into radio at 17 and 18, and we were doing stupid bits and having fun and making people laugh and entertaining people. And then as Remy and I meet, YouTube is young, and we are talking about, "Oh, what kind of stuff could we make that might be fun?" You know what I mean? I don't know if it started as a we're going to write this whole bit or what we put down in there, but we had the idea for, we need blue, the Best Buy blue polo, a headset of some kind, a bowl of water, and then we're just going to make a bunch of jokes, and I don't even know if we wrote it. I don't
Nope.
know if we just went in and we're like, let's go dick around with this stuff in the back room at the radio station we were working at.
Yep. I think there's a lot of stuff I cut.
Oh, it was because they had that nice camera, right? They had a nicer
Yep.
camera than even you had as a camera connoisseur at the time. And so we were like, let's use this. And we both worked at the radio station, and we did include it, I think, in our content, right? On the air. We were like, we made a video because blogs were a new thing at the time.
Mhm.
For everybody's accessibility. Like, this is maybe 10 years after GeoCities. And you're like, you could have your own Angel Fire page or something like that, right? Like 10 years after instant messengers, radio stations started having blogs where they would say, hey, come interact with the show. And for me, I saw that before I came to WB&Q. When I worked at WIOG in Saginaw, we were doing the Cyberline at 9, where every day we would have 3 songs or 6 songs where you would be able to choose. And you choose, come to the website and get in on Cyberline at 9, and we're in the chat room, and it was the time of chat rooms. ASL? Question mark. And if you speak that language, your back probably hurts. I appreciate you watching. But that was a whole vibe back then, and it was new because the age of the internet was still somewhat new. And how do you integrate this internet world into this broadcast world? And we had not figured it out yet. But as I came into this time, we didn't realize it, but we were creating content. It's what we wanted to do. And maybe you realized it more than I did because I'm an older guy at this time, and you were like, YouTube.
Yeah.
And that was probably where we set off in this outlet. So I think creativity, more than anything, is the craving of an outlet. Whether you want to say something, do something, show something, entertain, make someone cry, whatever that is, you know what I mean? There's so many good authors that are writing stories that are creative and pull at your heartstrings. So I'm not saying that you can only be funny or only be something. Creativity is endless. You can do so much with it. But what is it is a good question. So I'm trying to explain a little bit of that. But what does it mean to you? What is creativity, Remy, for you? When someone asks that question, what is creativity?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of that is that thing that just happens. Like you could be sitting at a Starbucks and boom, you just get a weird idea that just comes out of nowhere, and it moves you to act on that idea, and that could be anything. And then I also think of creativity, when we're like just over these last 5 days, we had to move a lot of couches and furniture and big things, and we had a guy come and pick up a couple couches that we had sold that we didn't need anymore, and he drove up in this short bed truck, and the couch is legit 9.5 feet long. How are we going to be creative enough to make sure that this stays in the truck and doesn't fly out all over the highway at any given point on their trip? So I think it takes a lot of different forms, but
yeah,
I think in the context that we're talking about is what's the video idea, or what's the thing that we're going to make to put out onto the internet for people to consume and make them feel a way. And I think even within that, there's a couple different, there's forced creativity. Like, okay, we have a concert coming up on Saturday. We need to come up with some sort of gimmick to get people to come over to the tent. What's that create? That's forced creativity in my mind. It's not most pleasant.
No, it's not fun to be creative under the gun. For sure.
And then there's the other one where, like I said earlier, where the idea just kind of comes to you. And that's the fun stuff for me. And I think that those ideas and those things that just kind of happen to you are the most impactful. And I think that's why in the early days of Mason and Remy, mind you, a lot of the guardrails were off on social media. So a video could do what a video does and just go. And there's no algorithm to keep people in the same lane. But that's why I think that this was so successful in the beginning, is because we did what we felt, and maybe that was a play on a pop culture moment, or a play on a song at the moment, or whatever the case may be. But I know it's kind of a long-winded answer, but
no,
it can
great
be,
answer.
you can put it into many different buckets, if you will.
It's really hard to describe because it's different for everybody. I think you mentioned a little bit of creativity and trying to figure out how to balance, couches. And you go, is it ingenuity? Is it creativity? Is it the ability to solve a problem? All of these things are a way to use creativity, to be creative. It's kind of a utility word in some ways, but I think when we talk about creativity, we're specifically talking about making something and perhaps making something better. You know what I mean? There's a lot of times where we go, let's get creative, and how can we X, Y, Z, where you're in the bucket and you're trying to figure out what that is. But you mentioned the free thinking creativity, which is super fun as well. We wrote a lot of songs, so a lot of our creativity was kind of in that vein of like, well, what's the music and what's the message, and where can we go from there? I think of the Cardinal Day as a good example for us, where we were like, what are we trying to do? We want to create a day as a holiday and an anthem for that day. The Cardinal Day being the day that baseball starts in St. Louis, which, by the way, there's still opportunity to do. And I guess at this point, anybody could steal our idea, but we all know. The idea was create an anthem. The Cardinal Day. We got Ozzy. We've got access to some Cardinal like folks like Ozzy Smith and others who were involved. The Budweiser Clydesdales. We've got all these these. So it all comes together, and the creativity for us is weaving that together. And I remember like just listening to music, and this is probably what a lot of artists do, right? As lyricists or whatever. I see videos of Jay-Z in the studio with Timbaland and the Neptunes and going, nah, next beat. Okay. And I feel like that's something we have done from time to time, because we have these huge libraries of music that were cleared to use for us in the radio station. And there are times when we do that on our own, like a Friday party jam that we could give Remy full credit for writing and arranging, right? Like that's you on the guitar. I don't know. I don't know how to play guitar. If you've been with us long enough, I've tried and failed. But I have a lot of guitars, and I still, that's a fun place to explore. So yeah, I think that is important. That's an important part, that it's, if you're inspired and looking for creativity, it's different for everybody. So don't think you're not able to find it just because whatever I say creativity is doesn't pop for you. You know what I mean?
I think
Creativity is individual for sure.
I think there's a commonality in that when it's like love, when that you're striking something, like you feel it, and you feel it for yourself before anybody else. I think that's so key, because I don't know. I think I've mentioned what's his name? Not Rick Ross. Who's the producer, the eccentric producer with the beard? Rick Rubin. Sorry.
Yes. No, that's okay. That's okay. And Rick Ross is, first, the boss, and second, he does have a big beard. But I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Beardy Rick Rubin. Yes.
Rick Rubin, who is one of the most successful, music producers of all time. And he's got such a great outlook on life. And he says, I don't make music for the audience. I don't make music for the audience. I make music for myself. And there are people that, like me, will enjoy the music that I also like. And that's just how you go about it. So I think when you've really come into an idea and you have an idea about something, it should fulfill you first, and you should be excited about it. And then hopefully your enthusiasm will kind of register for the rest of the world. And I think that's why some of our videos did better than the others. And now I feel like anybody who's in social media or content creation of any kind, it's always, they always measure everything by views and by engagement and all this stuff. But how did it make you feel? Like, did you feel good about it? Maybe it didn't do well with the algorithm, but are you proud of it? So I think that those are some questions that you could probably ask yourself too when you're making things,
Absolutely huge. And I hate to say that there's a lot of stuff I made I don't like. And it's probably just because it's oversaturated with me, and I'm tired of it. You know what I mean? It's old news. Yeah, that's great. No, I don't want to sing the Halloween jam from 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It's a thing. We did it. It's fine. They can't all be beat it. We've said it before, right? Like, you can't get too far down the path of beating yourself up, because at the time it hit. And if it did what you were trying to do, awesome. And I also think a point you made is entertaining yourself first, and the inspiration that comes from the creativity, you have to follow that immediately. If you do not, you will lose the inspiration and the creative juices that are fueling it. You know what I mean? We've tried numerous times to go, all right, look, we're at an end. We're out of time. We'll come back to this, and shit just falls off. You know what I mean? And it's nobody's fault, except the vibe wasn't strong enough to keep it going. You know what I mean? And there were those things where they came. You know what I mean? It's all about finding that magic in that moment and knowing what you're doing is worth it. You might struggle with it. You might go, I don't know if anybody else is going to enjoy this, but again, start with yourself, and hopefully your enthusiasm will go. Because when we sat back this all kind of comes together as these last episodes. In the last episode, you saw young fat Mason who had dreams of being a music producer. And now you know old lanky Mason who is producing music for his wife and has with Remy. And let me see if I can share this screen real quick here so that everybody can see some of this like creative stuff that we've been working on. I think I've shown this before. It's a little different from the last time I showed it because I'm not sure if you can see over. You can't. But in a second, I'll show you. This is the Friday Party Jam that we've been working on. And Remy, you haven't heard, and I don't know if we will play it here, but I've added the bass line to this. And I am no musician, but here is like there's a bass guitar and my amplifier and stuff. So like in the last few weeks, I've been working on this because I wanted to have a Friday Jam ready by the end of the year. Could I spend the rest of the day writing lyrics? Yup. Could we have a Friday Jam out by next week? Yup. Would it be great? Probably not. But it would happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's that creativity under the gun we're talking about. And this is probably why artists take so long to make albums, right? Because it's going to be the outward representation of you and what you're doing. It takes time. You want it to feel right. You don't want it to be rushed. Not us. Every Friday, a week's news put to a song. And no matter if it was good or not, here's your jam twice a day. Goodbye. You know what I mean? Like at that point, we had backed ourselves into a corner. Here, it's been almost 4 years since we had a Friday Party Jam. Right? Because this essentially 2021 was the last time there was one, and it's about to be 2025.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy to think about.
This is special to me, right? This is something that we did every week for 11 years, and we're working on now after we've come back together for a while. After a while, right? And this is probably a big thing that a lot of people are looking for from us. And I'm just gonna. Should I? Yeah. So here's the goals. Here's what Remy and I have talked about, and I hope you're okay with me sharing this. Friday Party Jam on the way. What is it going to say? No clue yet. We'll figure it out. Working on the music first. A generic Friday Jam. I want to be clear. Will we be making a Friday Jam every week? Absolutely not. Will you hear a Friday Jam every week? Sure. If you listen to a new episode of Mason and Remy every week. I'm thinking that since we had that generic music that opens and closes our podcast, thinking the Friday Jam should open our podcast.
Oh, okay.
You start and we should move our release date to Friday.
Perfect. So to coincide Friday, boom, new episode. We're starting the day with a Friday Party Jam, brand new episode of Mason and Remy going into the weekend. Are you listening on Saturday? All right, fine. But it was Friday. It was.
But I just want to give folks who have listened, thank you for giving us your time. Just know that we're working on some of this stuff, but it takes more than that. You know what I mean? I don't know how to play bass, but I found notes that I think work. I mean, I have a drum set. I have guitars. I'm not a musician, but I have this program that helps me and many other not musicians make music. And this to me is like creativity, and I'm into it. And I was sitting down here playing the bass and like listening to this over and over again. And this is all built off of Remy's original just guitar, playing. And there's drums in here. There's bass in here. Lyrics are next. Just wanted to give everyone kind of a bit of an insight as to what's here. And I'm pretty sure that no matter what, if I play this, you're not going to hear anything right now because of what's set up here. And I don't think I want you to hear it yet because I'm not ready for feedback. I've listened to it a bit. You know how when you do a thing and you listen to it and you go, okay, maybe not. And maybe that's just me. Maybe my radio friends will know. Maybe musician friends will know that it's not ready for the spotlight yet.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure people know that what we're working on and where we're heading as we head into a new year, which we're getting there, man. We're about 1 month away from 2025 as we record this. And I know. I didn't want to say it either, but it's got to be said. There are so many places that we can go, Remy and I, as just doing what we do. But there are also endless possibilities for creativity, whether it's just what we're talking about, whether it's new songs, but what has to hit is the inspiration, right? If we find something, and then we'll go, you know what I'm saying? But what
Yeah.
is missing right now is someone telling us what we have to do, which is so great.
Yeah.
Because you got work to do, I got work to do, we both got families, and if we can do this as well, I'm happy to have this creative outlet, this place to say, you know, look what I've made. This is who I am, this is what I enjoy doing. You know what I mean? Which is something that I love my job right now, but I don't have that outlet. You know what I'm saying? This is where I'm getting that. So thank you, Remy, for bearing with me every week while I work on this, and while we do this together. So this is fun, and I can't say I've had a number of, like, I don't want to say creative partners, but Remy, the most, I'm gonna say it, most intimate, most close.
Ooh.
I
I've
know
never
it.
seen Mason naked.
True, true. I have, however, seen Remy in nothing but Daisy Dukes, and so has the world, which is a sight to be seen, honestly. But it's something that I'm grateful for, and I can't say enough that earlier this year, I think you and I met up at Starbucks not long after you had been let go from the station.
It was
And we,
December of 2023.
oh shit, you were still working there when we met.
I was still working there when we met up. Yeah. But I
Uh,
had you had the feeling. You have the
hmm?
feeling that stuff's going to go down. So I remember it was when I was back home for Christmas, and we met up at Starbucks in Normal, and we just talked, and it was just a vent session for me, and kind of a catching up session for Mason. And
We hadn't talked in probably months. We didn't have regular, since then we have talked almost every week, right? It feels like, but now it's different. It's us, and we get to direct where this thing goes instead of having to include a contest, a narrative, a genre of music, a demographic. There's so much. I love a paycheck as much as the next guy, but I love my creative freedom to say things and be who I want to be more. Paychecks can come from anywhere. I could
Yeah.
I could find another one, we have.
Yeah.
And I hope somewhere someone's sitting and going, damn, we really f- this one up. You know what I mean? Here's a couple guys who love doing this, and we just couldn't make it work. Didn't have the resources to set them up for success. Whatever it was, somewhere along the lines. I'm not one to say like we're not responsible for our own outcomes here.
You're assuming that anybody in the industry from a management level has a soul.
That's another. I know that some of them do or did, and it's just they have to put it aside because they want to
They
feed
do.
their families.
Exactly.
And I get that. Like I've done that. See the last 25 years of my life going, do I want to be, this guy? No, but I got bills to pay. You know what I mean? We got things to do, and it beats roofing houses. How many times in my career did I say it beats roofing houses?
A
I
lot.
should have really tried roofing houses at some point. Looks like they got a good system set up. Yeah, man. I mean, I watched a guy put a whole roof on a place the other day in like a day and a half. Shit looked nice.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
I wanted to add something about creativity because I think it aligns perfectly with a martial art of ninjutsu, in that a ninja utilizes his surroundings or her surroundings to their benefit. And I don't want to discourage people from seeking AI as help, because I feel like there was probably a time when they were like, you're using a video camera to convey your message? Are you serious? We use microphones, or we use the pen and paper. That's how we convey messages. But I can't tell you the amount of times that I've used AI, specifically Chat GPT, to just kind of get me out, like give me some ideas, give me something or other words to think about, what's another position I can take here. I'm not totally copying and pasting things, and I don't think we're there yet, but at least can give you, or at least in the internet or YouTube or Google or whatever, can also give you some other additional supplemental ideas for whatever it is you're working on. So I just wanted to mention that before we moved.
Yeah, you have a creative partner in what all the AI has been fed from the internet. If you're looking for anything. I actually recently went to Chat GPT and said, hey, for the folks that we were doing our show for, where are the gaps in entertainment? Like, show me what people are saying about entertainment in this demographic. And I got a whole bunch of readouts, and that's like a place you can go to, and you and I could probably feed some creative juices off of to create something that would fill all these voids. So it's not that they're going to take your job, because if you've seen some of the videos, they still need us. They still need us. It's not ready yet, but there are a lot of text, like in the text world and on some of these other places. It's just simpler to tell it to break it down. You know what I mean? Especially, I work in video games where we have hundreds of thousands of players sharing sentiment of all different kinds, in game, out of game, social media, Discord, different platforms. How do we get that? We have all these sentiment monitoring tools that can pull it all in, and I can ask it, like, what are the top 10 concerns right now, today, or what are they saying from since this release about this? And I can get all that. I don't have to do that research. I don't understand how education works anymore when we talk about calculators and Chat GPT.
Mhm.
But I am scared for the future of a lot of things. We've seen infrastructure falling apart for a long time. Roads don't last. Cars don't last. Is this because we just want to, conspiracy corner time? Is this because we just want to force people to buy more things and keep commerce going? Or is it because there are no more specialists that know stuff enough about the compounds that the previous generations did, because they were educated with a calculator in their pocket and they didn't have to learn it, or because they knew they could just ask, is my doctor Googling my symptoms?
Yes.
Hey, what the fuck is that about, man? Like, you're a doctor. Did you go to how many years? Are you how many years of school? How many hundreds of thousands of dollars did you not only pay for education, but are now getting paid to what? Read Google to me?
It's Google Scholar, though. It's not.
Oh, is that it? Is that the next level of Google that I don't know?
That's the important scientific papers and research Google.
So Google found a way to monetize those Google results for
For sure.
highly functioning professionals. Damn, that's brilliant. I know in IT that they would do that. I vividly remember working here in Bloomington Normal and going, hey, I have an issue, and waiting to hear back from the engineer, going down to his office and seeing Google open and going, oh, wait a minute, do these guys just Google this stuff? 100% yes.
Yeah.
Because it's the easiest way to find out what a solution might be. And I understand that, I'm not putting it down, but there was a time in America, in the world, where we had experts who knew things. And we're not in that era. That's what it feels like.
True. Maybe that's why it seemed so unlikely to meet a 25-year-old kid with a love for root beer,
Maybe.
He was just so happy about it.
I encourage
specific.
I encourage anybody who is that niche about something and loves it to follow it. And because you will find that every lane is so narrow that the more time you spend in it, the more of an expert in your field you become. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, whether it's comedy or writing or acting, I feel like the longer you stick with it, the better and more successful you will be. I remember that talk from someone who I actually look up to in the radio industry while we were in Chicago. You remember when Woody from the Woody Show came by?
I do.
And he said that, like, he said those words to us. And I feel like, yes, had we not openly declared in this podcast that radio is dumb, we could have probably continued. But I don't think I want to anymore, just because radio's so dumb. I don't think radio know how dumb it look on the outside. I think radio's so caught up in itself and everything that it is, that it doesn't realize where its standing is at in the world when it comes to a lot of things. And I respect the hell out of that guy because it's one of the only shows I care to listen to. One of the more original guys in our industry who said, I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. And if you wonder what he's doing, it's happening right now on 105.7 The Point in St. Louis. It's still the same show. It's just a different guy. And I'm sorry to the folks that are involved there. But it started there. It sounds like and the Woody Show went from, like, it was in many different places. San Francisco, came to St. Louis for many years, where I feel like the Point established a huge lead and a huge foothold on the city of St. Louis under that. What Woody and Riz? right? I think
Yep.
is what it was called. Woody got the call to go to LA to be one of those 6 shows that are on 100 stations. Hell yeah, he cashed that in, took his old original show out there and is still doing that same show that is basically continuing on with a different host, different players on the same station where it originated. At least from my perspective, this is just my perspective, and love and respect to everybody who takes part in that. I
Mhm.
understand it is hard to get ahead in this industry. And if you came up at a station, was number one for doing a thing, and you are just to be the one to come in and do that thing more, I get it. I've been there. We've done it. No disrespect to it, but I respect the guy that started it. And his word is the point of my story here, which is when Woody came to Chicago and told us there are not a lot of people who want to do this for as long as we have that will withstand the test of time, stay with it. You know what I mean? He said, keep doing it. I wish we would have associated more with him and those kind of folks who were inspirational like that. Feel the world needs more. Hey, keep at it. You're doing great. But instead we get, hey, keep at it. Here's what you did wrong. And
Mhm.
that is, it's so hard to live in that world.
Yep.
I have a problem right now where, and we've talked about the PTSD we have from those meetings where we would be just ripped apart for things that we were inspirationally believing in, full 100% heart in our performance. Yeah, here's what you did wrong. Like every day, air check sessions, multiple times a week that just break down. And people will say it gives you character, builds you up, thick skin, et cetera, et cetera. But holy cow, um, it ruined a lot more than it helped, in my opinion. Um, I get it. Athletes watch the tape, right? You want to see how you did to get better. I feel like in the moments, I knew what I did. You know what I mean? I knew when things were going well. I knew when they were going bad. I didn't need somebody else to sit back and listen to it and tell me. It could have
Yeah.
been an email a lot of times, but instead we get in this world where we had to listen back to it, critique it, and then the next day you have a long list of critiques that are on your head now. And this is just day after day, year after year, and you can never function in a way that's nice. Good job. You know what I mean? Unless whatever broken rating system that they have is falling in your favor this week, then they are in your ass 10 times a week with the things you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
And it
and
it
it's
makes
unfortunate.
it makes the rating system and how it correlates with what you're actively doing on the station makes absolutely 0 sense at all. Like, so I went to go check the ratings because the Christmas stations always do well.
Yep,
So
it's time that they're starting up.
everybody's complaining about the station in their market that is going Christmas, and they all go Christmas from November 14th or whatever on through the year. And you get this huge amount of engagement on your social posts because you get people that are like, it's too soon, I can't handle Christmas. Well, don't listen. But
Mhm.
how the majority of people in this market are listening to that station, whether they want to admit it or not. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
you could double or even triple the share in the market for a month and a half ish
Mhm.
if you do the Christmas music.
Yeah.
And it's
Yep.
crazy. But to double down on my point, the station that we both got let go from is in fourth place, 6 plus, and are doing 0 things. Like
Mhm.
there's a bare bones staff. Nobody's doing anything groundbreaking. Nobody's planning out bits. I guarantee you, 75% of the station is voice tracked from a different market or B within the market,
Mhm.
and they're fourth place. How mind boggling is that? It's just an ebb and flow. It depends on who are the 3 families that are going to determine your future and where do they listen anyway.
And that's the Arbitron meter that we're talking about. The families that get the Arbitron meter, the people who will take $1 a day to listen to a station and how it's improperly weighted to show the ratings. When you talk about that station, was that the iHeart or the Hubbard? Which one?
Hubbard.
Hubbard. Okay. So hey, good for them. First off, fourth place, not bad for doing jack all. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If that says anything to you, I'm sad to say this, but it shows that they don't need a staff. It shows how
Yeah.
dead this is,
You could
and really,
literally just play music and probably be in the top 3.
literally will be in the top 4. You know what I mean? And that's first off a testament to how the music genre does in the market. Sure. But why is the other station there if that's the case, right? Are they fifth or are they further down? And why is that is a good question to ask. But
Because
again, it all falls into where those things fall and who got it this week.
mhm.
Uh,
Every year we flip-flopped.
mhm.
Every year. And you feel good when you're on top, and the ratings, they work when you're on top, but they're wrong when you're
It's
not winning.
broken. It's a
They're
broken system when you're
we didn't get the right family. You know, they got
what's
their
the
whole
Monopoly
family.
card? Oh, a bank error in your favor. You know, that's literally the rating system when it's good to you. But when it's not, we got to fix this. What are we looking like? They will literally go to the company and go, I don't know, guys. They'll dispute because it means something to the advertisers when all the advertisers care about are those numbers, and they don't know anything about the city that they're in, and they don't know that people aren't listening or whatever, or nobody's on the air in the actual city. They're just following the numbers, which is how a lot of business gets done. And they're relying on that. They're hoping that that's what you do. They're hoping
Mhm.
you won't ask about their reputation in the community for firing all their air staff.
Yeah,
You know what they're hoping, and it really they think it probably doesn't matter because look at the numbers.
yeah.
And by the way, they have to pay to get those numbers as well. Remember when we were talking about the award shows being rigged? You don't get rated if you don't buy their ratings. And they don't keep the people that are paying them happy unless they play in their favor. Boy, at least once or twice a year, right? Man, that
Mhm.
flip-flop you say?
So weird.
Interesting.
So weird.
Interesting. God, man. If I suddenly disappear next week, you know why.
Oh, Mason figured it out.
I've been thinking a lot about that as we're driving through conspiracy corner after conspiracy corner. At some point, we're going to trigger somebody and one of us is going to disappear. And after that episode, you know where we got way too close.
We know things. Yeah, we're like Icarus. We're flying a little too close to the sun here. We may
Right.
we may burn up at some point, but
Like the topic that we covered, and not to get away from creativity, because it is still a big topic for us and what we do and who we are and why we were hired to do a lot of what we do. They like ask us for this creativity and hey, we got to come up with a thing. What do you think about this? Can we come up with a name? Can you think of a jingle? Can you think of a line? We're the creative people. You know what I mean? And this is what we're asked. So when Remy talks about being creative in a box, that's hard. Being creative on a timetable, that's hard. But for us, like being open and being able to have an hour-long conversation to say whatever we want, that's chocolate ice cream, baby. You know what I mean? Give me
yeah,
more. Give me more.
yeah.
And so I love to talk about this stuff. I hope that anybody, and I know we have had comments about creativity and inspiration, and those kind of things, and how it worked for us to create some of the things that we create. I hope I'm sharing the proper path to give somebody to light the way to go, maybe I should just do it.
Hmm.
Do it. Shia LaBeouf. Yes, always. That's never forget. I think
Um,
it's creativity is a big cornerstone for us. So it was important to talk about it. I feel like we just started this conversation 5 minutes ago. We're almost at an hour.
yeah. Well, I think to sum up, kind of, and piggyback off of what you just said, while the last part of that, you know, ratings and air checks and all of that kind of stuff doesn't really seem like creativity. It's not. It's the anti-creativity. So it's what happens to a creative entity over time with more and more opinions
Mhm.
setting on top of it and setting on top of it. And then by the end of it, you get Mason and Remy, who, when they go on the air, are thinking about 50 things in their head. Keep it below 3 minutes. Don't say the word too much. Don't, start with a question. Everything, like everything you've ever
All of
been told, is now impacting how you say things. And it's not you anymore. It's your boss, it's your boss's boss, it's the consultant, it's the thing that you're supposed to say to keep your job because it's $1,000 an hour. We're giving $1,000 an hour. You got to say the word correctly.
Mm.
It's so crazy how you can have so much momentum in the creative world and then it just all gets squashed because of all these other opinions. So be careful of opinions. I will say that's probably the one thing that will squash your idea real quick. You're high on that. You're high on that idea. You want to write that book. You want to do that children's book or do the video, and you tell your friend, and they go, "That's stupid."
Mm-mm.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, "Yeah, it's stupid." and then you
Bad
forget
friend, first off. Bad friend.
about it. Bad friend, yeah.
Bad friend, first off. Never say that to your friend. And if you do go, that's stupid. I love it. That's the only way that stupid works. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Is if
Yep.
it's intended to be. Because if somebody came to us and said that's stupid on some of the stuff we did, I would have gone, oh, perfect. You know what I mean? That's what I was going for. Unless you're going for stupid. But bad friend otherwise. Be inspired, follow your heart, do what makes you happy. I know, like I spent a lot of my life going, people are just like me. They think the same way. They don't, but there are similar points where you will laugh about the same things and you will cry about the same things because we are all in the end human and we all share these emotions that none of us know how to really decipher clearly and confidently. Maybe that's something we can talk about in a future episode because I've always struggled with that. Emotions. How do you control them?
Is it drugs?
For some it is. But this is, I think it's a topic that we might be able to dive into in the future. But I'm glad we could take some time to talk about creativity. I'm glad I could give a small look into the creativity outlet that not only myself and Remy have, but what I've been working on in my free time as far as like trying to make music. And that's just like lifelong dream stuff that I've always wanted to do that I've never really been in a place to do. My whole bass line might be out of key. I don't know. Gotta try. We'll never know if I don't. And I'm at that point in my life where I'm going, hey, these days aren't getting any longer. You know what I'm saying? If I ever wanted to do something, what am I waiting for? I remember a lot of time I would say, well, we're not at the place yet where we can do that. Are we? I think we are. We can do whatever we want at any time.
Yep.
So I'm into that. Don't let anybody stop you from being creative. And if they're telling you that's not good, go away. Not from the creativity and the thing, but from them.
Yeah.
And
Unless your idea is like damaging to somebody else.
oh my
physically.
God, no, yeah. If your creative idea is like blowing up a building, that's not okay.
No. And they're right.
They're
Your
right. Yeah.
idea is-
See, okay, now we're getting finite. Okay, maybe some of what I said, maybe some of what I said doesn't apply if you're a terrorist. But we're talking more about art. And I know if you're like, oh, what this building falling down is a metaphor. Nah, it's not going to work. Let's not do that. I just need to be clear.
We do not condone
Terrorism.
all the legal things.
Yeah, first terrorism bad, creativity good. Those are the undertones of this episode. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to actually dive in for a meaningful conversation on what I've seen as a really big headline over the last couple of weeks, Remy, that I know you have been a huge, do I say fan? Proponent. You have been interested in, believer in UAPs, UFOs.
Correct about?
Remy has always said aliens are real. I have always laughed. Space for the X-Files theme. Thank you. The issue is it's actually real right now.
Yeah.
Many people have gone on official record. Bro, I can't believe I'm seeing this on C-SPAN of all places that it's real. We don't have time to go into this episode. I need to do a full-on prep. Plus the conversations I think are still happening. Like they're still having these live streams about what they know and how long they've known it and what proof they do and don't have. So maybe in our next episode.
Yeah. I don't want to compound this. I'm just going to say 2 words for the government. 2 only. Show us. That is all.
Picture it didn't happen.
That's true. I don't want to talk about your biologics and all your like show us.
We even have video of being on the moon and they still don't think that happened. But so Pixar didn't happen, maybe not. But there's some super interesting notes to touch on there and I think it's still a developing story. So ongoing stories that we're following here on the show are only the biggest things in the world. UFOs, Garth Brooks allegations, Pokemon cards, just a few things that were really important to us.
Yes.
To share with our audience. Okay, let's get ready to wrap up this episode. I know we're about at the 1 hour mark and we want to kind of keep this to around that time limit. Not enough time to talk about aliens, but I think we do have enough time to talk about being grateful and thankful and the things right now. Thanksgiving is right now as we release this episode. Your answer cannot be deviled eggs. What are you most thankful for, Remy, as you go into the Thanksgiving holiday?
Oh, I don't want to cry, but like legit family. I'm so grateful for, this little life that we've created for ourselves. And I think that's, my eyes have been way opened up this year for sure. After, losing a job
Mm-hmm.
that you think is your whole entire world, right? You think it's your everything, and it's not. It's because your family is. And not to say that the family wasn't before, but it's
I
just
get what you're saying.
it brought it more into focus. And like that's why we're doing all the stuff we're doing. It's for these guys, right? It's
Right.
for Emerson and Leo and Lauren and friends and family. And I think that everybody through this year that's supported and said everything's going to be okay. This is for the best. You're gonna come out the other side, and you're gonna be like, yeah, that was for the best. And at the time, you don't believe it, but it's true. And so, this has been a year of transformation for me, and I'm grateful for that. Um, so yeah, I think that kind of encompasses. But if you were just asking about food,
Well,
which I
before
don't
we get
know,
on to food real quick,
wow,
could
he
you
got
pick
real
your
deep on that food question.
could you pick first your favorite family member? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well,
Who are you most thankful for?
my
Which
favorite son is Leo, and my favorite daughter is Emerson.
okay, all right, Dad. No, that's good. That's good. But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I'm happy about that.
And
I
you. And
uh,
please tell us what you are most grateful
oh,
for.
I
Sorry.
will.
Sorry I didn't mention you.
Oh no. It's okay. I will. I'm grateful for me. If it wasn't for me, none of this would. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I am. I'm in the same boat. I'm grateful for Alicia. I'm grateful for Keaton for grounding me. Like not necessarily going go to your room, but going, hey, this is what really actually matters. And I maybe experienced what you experienced over this year. I maybe experienced it a couple years back, but I know exactly what you're talking about. For me, I needed to go like into my shell and come back out and figure out where my confidence was and what I was doing and who I was without that. Because you're right. You look at radio as your whole existence. I'm gonna make a name. I'm about to make a name for myself. Did you ever
Mhm.
finish Wolverine and
I
Deadpool?
did.
Okay,
I
good.
finished it on the plane to Denver,
That
and it's
reference lands
awesome.
for you now. It was a great movie.
It's so good because it makes fun of itself the entire time, and it breaks fourth wall, and I love movies like that.
Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool are really good in that. But yes, I think that's something I'm grateful for this year. Is that you and I could reconnect to do this. I'm grateful that you have had this experience to get past whatever feelings you may have had earlier in the year, because we talked before it happened. You kind of knew and had that feeling probably since the time they let me go that you were on borrowed time. Not that you couldn't have made a position where you stayed, but I think it was written on the wall that the budgets were shrinking and guys like you and I cost more than your average voice tracked air talent who can just line her up a show for 6 days a week and be okay, not caring about not having that outlet. And maybe they're just not creative. That's not their thing. There are definitely people who live in that world and don't need a creative outlet. Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe they do something else. That's fine. You could be that person. But um, I think I'm most grateful for, like you said, the family, um, being able to spend time doing the things I love and find joy in rather than chasing this dream that I chased for so long, thinking it was so important. Being able to see my family, my actual like mother and father, more than once a year is something I've been able to do since radio has ended. I'm super grateful for that. Um, I lost my brother a couple years back, and now it means a lot to go back and see my mom and dad, knowing like, hey, yo, I'm the kid now. Like you wanna say something stupid, you know what I mean? You ain't got no way. I don't know who you think's gonna be pushing you around in that wheelchair, mom, but you should really no. It's really been great to see what feels like life should be like outside of the stupid pressures of radio. Um, Knowing that I am a skilled adult human and can find a job if I need it that isn't radio. I've had nothing else since high school but radio. No, trusting myself again, finding my confidence, something I'm still working on, but like I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to have the space for. I'm grateful for this home. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for Alicia. I'm grateful for you who also said, hey, let's get coffee. And I'm grateful for you who also said, maybe a podcast. When whatever happens, happens. And I'm grateful for you who has since June sat down with me weekly to do this thing, and I hope you're enjoying. I don't think you'd be back week after week if you didn't. But this means a lot to me. And it's something that I think you and I both have in our bones and will continue to do without a company behind us, because it needs to be done this way. I think that there are people like us who are probably feeling the same way. And even if you're talking to nobody, I hope you know that it's valid. Your feelings are valid. And I'm grateful for you. That's another big one. Everybody who's taken the time to listen to whatever these are, you know what I mean? Who's taking the time to say thanks, who's taking the time to say, hey, I needed a laugh today. I had a rough week, whatever that is. That shit gets us through. You know what I mean? It really does. And I am grateful for my health, trying to do better there. You know, as I watch the world die around me, it's like, oh man, I better take care of myself. My mom's not very mobile anymore. You know, it's like, I got to walk. I got to eat better. I'm grateful for my health. And I hope we all take that into account, even though we have the freedom to eat as much chocolate or drink as many Topo Chicos as you want. You shouldn't. Probably everything in moderation, except cocaine and stuff. That's probably not okay to just do regularly. Hey, if you found a way, that's great. But I'm gonna probably outpace you toward the end.
Social cocaine users,
right? Bro, they're out there. Don't laugh too hard. We probably know a lot of them.
Yeah, we might have worked for one.
Worked amongst a lot of them. But that being said, next episode, I think we really need to dive into the UAP UFO kind of thing, because there's a lot of stuff around it. We'll get past Thanksgiving. We'll get into December. The holidays will be coming up. Not sure about an abbreviated schedule for us as the Christmas holiday approaches. But still, man, this kind of stuff is like a little bit of therapeutic to me. It's a little bit of an outlet to me. So I'm not looking to put a break on that anytime soon. I'm grateful for the opportunity to do this. One thing we do have to do is start writing a Friday jam. Oh, that's for you.
Oh,
I mean, unless you want me to write it for you. We should probably
write my part and you write your part. Is that what
if you want? Yeah, that's fine. I'm cool with that. Yeah, absolutely. And just knowing that what you saw there is almost a completed song, we're getting to that stage. And maybe I'll send you the audio and let you think about it. Maybe we'll play it in a future episode.
I'll tell you if the bass line's in key.
It's probably not. Anyway, we'll get to that coming up in another episode. Anything else you want to get in before we dive off into turkey and stuffing and grape jello?
Yeah, enjoy the friends and the family and the shopping and all the things that surround Thanksgiving. I do want to leave you with one more little UAP quip. While I was in Denver, the guy I was with, his name is Salem, by the way. I've said the guy I was with several times, but
Shout
he's
out Salem.
one of my coworkers.
Big root beer fan.
His girlfriend's father, who is about my age, which is crazy to think about, it works at the Denver airport. He's in air traffic. And he says daily.
No way.
They see anomalies daily.
They see stuff they don't know what it is, which is technically the definition of an unidentified flying object.
Yeah. So I will I'll leave you with that. I will do a little bit more research and come prepared next time.
It could be a bird. It could be a weather balloon. It could be aliens.
It's always aliens.
I don't know. It could be a Chinese weather balloon that just drifted for another episode. Yeah, Christmas is coming. Happy holidays to you. We're grateful for you checking this out. Thank you so much. Make sure you find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Search us out, except for low quality platforms. We're not on those. You know who you are. But you can also find us on YouTube, which is super helpful for supporting us and what we do. Thank you so much. Hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much, but do tell people that you are grateful for them. Help somebody feel better today. Yeah. Wow, what a message. Is it the new sign off? Hey, help somebody feel better today. Thanks for watching.
I like that. Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right. We'll just call you Lester Holt. And
oh shit, is that his? Did I steal his?
No, his is like take care of yourself and
everybody stay happy, healthy, and safe and warm and full of food. Pay your car payment. Don't forget, visit your doctor, eat an apple a day, and see your dentist.
Just cover it all.
But,
all right, we'll see you in the next.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.